So this is lesson 7.4a. We are going to be doing a lesson in pre-algebra called converting between the two systems and temperature. What that means is converting between the two systems is we're going to be going back and forth between the metric and the English system. So it could be that they give you a speed such as 20 miles per hour and they'll want to have you convert that to kilometers per hour. Or maybe they'll give you a length in feet and they want you to change it to meters. So we're going to have what I call a conversion equality, for lack of a better phrase, that converts from English to metric or from metric to English, because we're going to have that point that switches it over. It's kind of like an on-off switch. Everything is going well, we're in metric, and then they ask us to put it in English, so we have to flip the switch or put this little conversion fraction in there in order to change it. And, you know, as we see examples, you'll see what I mean. All right, so when you are looking at metric, sometimes it's hard to get what different sizes in metric are, so let's just cover a few of them. A meter would be just a little bit longer than a yard, about 39 inches. A centimeter is about the length of a sugar cube. A liter is a little bit more than a quart, so there's not quite 4 liters to a gallon, but pretty close. A paper clip weighs about a gram, so not much weight there in a gram. And if you had a couple pounds of coffee or a couple pounds of flour, that is pretty close to a kilogram. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at as far as the conversion is concerned. The table that I have here on the screen, make it a little bit bigger here real quick, is taken from the book, and those are our conversion relationships. So notice when we have something like meters and feet, see how we switched? We went from metric to the English system. So that's our little conversion part there. If we are going from, let's say, centimeters, which is metric, to English, which is inches, you can go ahead and use that one. Let's say that we're in quarts and we want to go to metric, so there's our conversion there. So it's really easy using the same way that we've been converting things all along. So let's make that a little bit smaller and kind of get it out of the way, and we'll start with example 1. So we've got 8 inches and they want us to convert that to centimeters. So what we're going to do is, first of all, see if there is a conversion here with inches and centimeters, and there is. This first one right here. They're going to make it a little bit easy for you. So let's go ahead and write 8 inches times line, inches here, and we look then at this first one, inches to centimeters. When inches is on the bottom, we use this formula right here. If inches were on top, we would use this formula, but it's on the bottom, so we're going to use that one. So 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. We can cancel our inches. That's what we're looking for, so we know that we're done. So 8 times 2.54 is going to give me 20.32 centimeters. So if an inch is approximately this long, a centimeter is about that long. There are about 2.5 centimeters in an inch. So when we change from 8 inches to centimeters, there's going to be a little over double. So 20.32, yeah, that kind of fits in there. It's a little more than double 8, which is 16, so that kind of works. So let's look at example 2. We've got 80.5 kilometers, and we're changing that to miles. So we're going to write it as 80.5 kilometers times line kilometers. And we're going to look at our table and see if there's anything that compares kilometers and miles. Right there, miles and kilometers. When kilometers is on the bottom, we use this one. So 1 mile over 1.61 kilometers. So we've got 80.5 times 1 over 1.61, and these canceled, so we're left with miles, which is what we want. And 80.5 divided by 1.61 is 50 miles. And that's our answer. So 80.5 kilometers is equal to 50 miles. So let's continue. Example 3. We are converting 3 liters to pints. So we have our 3 liters times liters on the bottom. See if there's any comparison between liters and pints. Liters, 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 liters and quarts. Don't see anything with liters and pints. So instead of worrying about pints, let's go to quarts, and then we'll see if we can continue on from there. So liters are on the bottom. We're going to go to quarts. We're going to use this one here. 1.06 quarts in 1 liter. Those cross out. Times and a line, since quarts is what we found out, but we're trying to get pints. So let's see, any relationship between pints and quarts? Yes, there is, and we put our quarts on the bottom, of course. And there is a relationship. If you look at some of your old tables, you'll find out that there's 2 pints and 1 quart. I can cross those out, and that's what I'm looking for, so I know to stop. So 3 times 1.06 times 2 and divided by 1, so we don't have to do anything there, gives me 6.36 pints in 3 liters. So example 4, we've got an engine that has a 2-liter displacement, kind of a small motor there. And they want us to change it to cubic inches. Now, when I was younger, everything was in the English system, so when you had a car that had a 350 in it, or a 454, or something like that, it was always cubic inches, so a 350 cubic inch. Now everything is metric, so it's in liters, like a 5.7, 6.3, 7.0 liter, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the metric of a 2-liter displacement and change that to the English system, which we used in the 60s and 70s, which would be cubic inches. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to write it as 2 liters times liters. And do we know anything about, in our table, between liters and cubic inches? So that would have to be volume, and I don't see anything there as far as liters and cubic inches, but I do notice that I have a milliliter in cubic inches. So there's a comparison there, but I've got to get my liters to milliliters. So I go back and look at one of my other tables, and I find out that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So I can cross out my liters, and since milliliters is not what I'm looking for, I'm going to continue on. And I've got milliliters, and I do know that there are, according to my table there, 16.39 milliliters in 1 cubic inch, and that's what I'm looking for, is cubic inches, so I can cross those out. So 2 times 1,000 divided by 16.39. That means that engine is going to be 122 cubic inches, which is totally unheard of. In the olden days, I would be embarrassed to drive something with a 122 cubic inch engine in it. But you could do the same thing. You could change this. Let's say, for example, that you had a 5.7 liter, and you put that there. Now everything else here stays the same. We just changed the size of the engine. So instead of 2 here, we're going to put 5.7, and you're going to multiply that through, and you'll find out how many cubic inch a 5.7 liter engine is that is in your standard Dodge Ram pickup truck. So gives you an idea about how to change it from the metric system and displacement to the English system.